Okay, welcome to tonight's Tanya class. We are studying Perek Lamed, which is chapter 30 in Tanya. And today the Alter Rebbe continues with the same conversation of last week. And that is that what happens, as we know, the Alter Rebbe wants very, very much to us to serve God. But the key thing is to serve Him how? B'simcha, with joy. So simcha is crucial. Simcha is the foundation. Without simcha, you can't really serve God to the fullest. So a person has to serve God with simcha, with joy. Now, the reality is that when you're dealing with simcha, joy, it's not like, for example, I tell you, put up a mezuzah. Put up a mezuzah, you don't have to be in the mood to put up a mezuzah. You put up the mezuzah. Keep kosher, you keep kosher. Simcha is a feeling. Either you have the feeling, or you don't have the feeling. You can't buy simcha in any store, not that I know of so far. Anyone know a store that sells real simcha? I don't know of any store. Simchas are us, right, exactly. But the point is that simcha, joy, comes from within. And in order to really live a full and fulfilled life, it's not enough just to study Torah and do mitzvot and pray, even though no one's saying you should stop doing it, do it. But really what's important is you should do it mitoich, from how? From simcha. When a person has simcha, then life is great. So here comes the big issue. The Alter Rebbe, on the other hand, has to deal with the reality. Hi, welcome. Perfect timing. See it here, wherever you want. Okay. The reality is that there are times when you're lacking the simcha. Now, what does it mean you're lacking your simcha? That your heart, because where does the simcha come from? From your heart. Your heart is closed. Now, what happens is when your heart's closed and you don't have the simcha, we got a problem. Because we have an uninspired Jew. And an uninspired Jew is not a good thing. So last week we spoke about one idea. The Alter Rebbe explained how to open up the heart. Today the Alter Rebbe comes along and introduces a new option, a new vehicle to help you open up your heart, that you should have simcha, you should have joy, and that will allow you to have a passion in your life. So the Alter Rebbe starts off in saying as follows, that the way you are going to open up your heart is as follows. What happens is, when we get along with everybody, so what happens when you get along with everyone, two things happen. Number one is, guess what? You have more friends. That's number one. Now, what happens when you have more friends? What you're doing is you're really connecting the dots. You're connecting the dots, and you're creating a connection with God on a very deep level, because we know that one of the foundations of mysticism is what? Achdus, unity. Achdus Hashem, the unity of God. And unity means that everyone is part of Achdut. Everyone is part of God. Now, if everybody's part of God, and you get along with everybody, then you're really connected to God. But what happens if this person you don't get along with, and that person you don't get along with? Irrelevant what the reason is, guess what? You're really disconnecting with God. You're not disconnecting with this person or that person, this friend, this family member, this community member. You're really ultimately disconnecting from God. If you're not connected to God, what happens to your simcha? Goes right down the tubes. The more you're connected to God, the happier you are, because you're connected to the source, to your source. You're connected to the infinite source of energy. And if you don't get along with certain people, you're really disconnecting yourself with God, and you're lacking simcha. So what happens is, when a person is b'simcha, think about it. You're happy, you can get along with anybody. When a person is lacking simcha, you have a problem with this one, you have a problem with that one, etc. It's not the other person, I can guarantee you. You know what the problem is? Lacking simcha. So really what the Alter was saying is that in order for you to have simcha, guess what? You have to get along with everybody. Why? Because the fact is that creates Achdus Hashem, and the truth is we all know when you're sitting around with whoever it may be and you're enjoying, you're having a good time, you're happier, because a person can only make themselves so happy. Every other person that you're involved with in a healthy situation creates more simcha. So the more people you get along with, the more simcha you have. For example, what's the worst thing that fights simcha to the worst degree? Being alone. Being in isolation. Because what happens when you're not alone in isolation, and not only if you're physically alone, but mentally and emotionally and spiritually, if you feel like you're alone, you're really going to feel like you're in isolation, you're not going to feel great. But what happens if you're connected to other people, whether you're physically with them, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and you're bonded and you're connected, the more people you're really connected with, guess what? the greater you're going to feel. So therefore, what is the Yetzer Hara's goal? The Yetzer Hara has one goal. We know that it brought down many places in Kabbalah mysticism. The Yetzer Hara really, and this is like a interesting statement, we have to listen till the end. The Yetzer Hara's goal is not that you should sin. He doesn't care if you sin. What he only cares one thing: you should be unhappy. The minute you're unhappy, boom, he has full control over you. So therefore, the Yetzer Hara's goal is that you shouldn't get along with people and to put you in isolation. You can be this most successful person, I'm talking spiritually, you study and you pray and you do mitzvot, but the Yetzer Hara will still get you. You know why? And here is the key thing what the Alter Rebbe is going to teach us. Because the Yetzer Hara is going to come and tell you, you know what? You're better than everybody. Now what is the ego? When the ego hears that, what does the ego think? Hey, I love it. I'm better than everybody, right? Now, but that's the biggest trick of the evil inclination. Because the Alter Rebbe says, guess what? That is the start of your downfall. The Yetzer Hara comes to you. You're better than everybody, right? What's your initial reaction? Psh, I'm better than everybody. Really? You know what he just did? He separated you from everybody. Look what he just did. You look at it, you're better. No. He just did was he separated you. He outsmarted you. Because he used your Torah study, your prayer, your mitzvot, which you're doing, which is great, but he used it against you by taking you and telling you that you're better. So what's the difference if he tells you you're worse or better than everybody else? Either way, he's separating you from people. The minute you're separated, it's no good. So the Alter Rebbe says, guess what? You know why your heart's closed? You know why you're lacking simcha? Because unfortunately, you look down at other people. Your ego looks down at other people. You feel like you're better than other people. Now, you think it's a great thing. I'm better than this one, I'm better than that one. Good morning. You're actually killing yourself. Because you're separating yourself from other people. So really, you call it people, it's really Hashem. You're really separating yourself from who? From Hashem. That's point number one. And number two is you're actually missing really friendship. So the Alter Rebbe says, guess what? You want to bring happiness back to your life. You want to bring simcha back to your life. You want to get back on board and living a passionate life, you're going to have to start getting along with everybody. Now, obviously that's the goal. How do you get there? And the Alter Rebbe shows you step by step how to get there. And he starts off by saying, quotes a teaching of our rabbis, and the teaching says, a person should be beheve shval ruach b'fnei kol ha'adam. A person should be humble of spirit in front of everybody. It doesn't say in front of certain people, everybody. Now when we say everybody, what does everybody mean? We all know, what does everybody mean? Everybody. Everybody. Is there an exception to everybody? No, because if it's everybody, it's everybody. So the saying says, again, pay attention, it's an important, this will change your life if you really get it and internalize it. So we're talking about, Chazal say, okay, whoever the person, subject matter is, who read this and is studying this, is saying, okay, we're talking about everybody. And everybody is everybody. What does that mean? Someone that studies Torah, someone that prays, someone that does mitzvot, someone that actually doesn't study Torah, someone that doesn't pray or do mitzvot, and maybe not only that, but someone's actually sinning. We said everybody. Right? Are we backtracking? Everybody means everyone. That means from the greatest people to what we perceive, right? And we'll soon see a different perception. But so right now, we perceive as sinners, or people that aren't really doing what God wants. But what does the Alter Rebbe say? Every one of those people, every one of those categories, from all the way from the right to all the way to the left and everything in between, you should be humble of spirit in front of them. Meaning you say, wow, I really respect these people. Now think about this for a moment. I mean, this is Tanya. The Alter is not making a joke, and he's going to show you, and explain to you why that's the reality. Initially thinking, Rabbi, come on, someone studies Torah, someone prays, someone does mitzvot, someone has good qualities. I should be, humble in front of him. I wish I can have those qualities, right? But what happens if someone doesn't study Torah, doesn't pray, doesn't do mitzvot, and not only that, transgresses some of the biggest transgressions in the Torah? What does the Alter Rebbe say? It's not. The Alter Rebbe is quoting a passage of the Talmud that says you should be of humble of spirit in front of this person. Why is that? Because if you will be of humble spirit in front of this person, guess what you're going to feel? You're going to feel connected to that person, and there's a part of God in that person, and you're going to have another person that you can get along with, so you're going to be happy. So the end goal is going to make you a happier person, and it's also going to take you out from being locked up where your heart is totally uninspired. Because now you're inspired. Think about it. If I tell you I'm taking you to visit, for example, some great personality, irrelevant why the person's great, financially, mentally, socially, successfully, a great sage, right? So what happens when you get excited, right? But what if I tell you I'm going to take you to someone that's the biggest sinner? Someone locked up in, for example, in jail, right? And has 24-hour security around him. Are you going to be excited about that? No, you're going to be actually afraid, right? You're going to be a little afraid to go there. But the Alter was saying is, no, guess what? So what does that mean? So anytime you feel like that you're going to someone that's of great stature, what happens to your excitement? Your passion in life, it goes up. If you're going to someone of lower stature, no, you're actually afraid. But the Alter says, guess what? If you view every single this person in this world as some great stature, guess what? You have a lot of people you're looking up to, and a lot of people you're excited to meet and see. So for example, you meet a friend or a relative, right, and you think that it is great person, how are you going to feel? Oh, I'm so excited to be with you and see you and let's spend time together, right? Isn't that the way it works? In the world, what if you're going to meet someone that's, in your mind, a loser? Are you excited to meet them? No, it's actually going to be an uncomfortable setting. But the Torah says, if I can switch the lens to show you why all these people that you look down on, you should actually look up to them, how are you going to feel? Great, happy. So what's the problem? The problem is that you have a view of people, unfortunately, in a very, very sad, negative way, which is only hurting you because now you have to be with someone, whether it's a friend, a family member, a classmate, a coworker, whatever it may be, a community member that you look down on. So how are you going to feel? It's not going to feel great. But what happens if you look up to every one of those people? You're going to have a happy experience at every moment. So the Alter says that's what it means. V'havi shval ruach b'fnei kol ha'adam. You should be humble of spirit. Kol ha'adam means anybody and everybody. And matter of fact, kol ha'adam means Jew and Gentile alike. Look how life changes. But now you're going to say, Rabbi, okay, that's great. Is that fantasy world? Is that like a, is this a trick or is it the truth? And the Alter says, no, it's the truth. And he says as follows. And here the Alter outlines for you why it's not a trick and why it's the truth, why you really should be humbled in face of anybody and everybody. Now, how does that make sense? Can anyone guess? Anyone guess? Can anyone guess what the answer is?
Because God loves everybody equally.
True, but they're sinning. But they're sinning. But they're true, but these people are sinning. So why should you be like so excited to be with them? So here you're going to see a beautiful picture the way the Alter explains reality. And he says like this. He says, it's all based on Talmud, Kabbalah, mysticism. He says like this. We learned that, it says in the Mishnah, Al tadin es חברך עד שתגיע למקומו. You should never judge anybody, actually it's specifically your friend, but you shouldn't judge your friend until you reach his place. Now what does that mean? Don't judge him until you reach his place. I see him doing something good, great. I see him doing something bad, that's terrible. The Alter says, no, don't judge him. Why? I mean, don't judge him. The person did something terrible. The Alter says, why not? Why shouldn't you judge him? It has to be a logic. He says, very simple. Because why shouldn't you judge him? Because the reality is, the Alter says there could be two major issues. And that's as follows. The Alter says, let's say, for example, you have a home in a very, very nurturing environment. You have a work, which is a very, very productive workplace. It's, it's serious business. I mean, the business is serious, but the mood is great, hopefully, right? But you're in a good, healthy environment at work, at home, your social settings, etc. So therefore, you're in a good place. Your places that you hang out are good. But what happens if this person that you're judging, this person, work environment, causes them, because of work, parnasah, it causes them to be in places where it's not necessarily the best environment. They're exposed to things that normal people really shouldn't be exposed to in a healthy setting. But that's what he has to do. So that's point number one. In other words, you're sitting in a place where you have no challenges. You have a great environment at home, at work, through friends, etc. And this person, unfortunately, has to be exposed to not necessarily the greatest environments. That's point number one. So you're dealing with a person that has to deal with his environment that he's in. Point number 2 is we know that God gave each and every one of us a soul, right? Part of God's infinite soul. But we know that everyone's soul is unique. Nobody has the same soul, others would be doing the same thing. We'd be thinking the same thing. We're all unique. Now what does that mean? And again, there's infinite combinations. But let's take 2 extremes. One person is totally cold-blooded. What does that mean? If it's right, it's right. It's wrong, it's wrong. He doesn't get excited about it. If it's wrong, he stays away from it. He has no, in Hebrew it's called no taiva. He has no pleasure in something which is inappropriate. It does not excite him. Now some people can relate to it, because that means obviously your soul is like a little coldish. Some people can't relate to it, because you're always passionate about something. Oh my God, you see something, you have to get involved, right? So some people are cold, more cold. They're more basically factual. Is it good? They'll get involved. Not good? It raises 0 on their radar. Doesn't get them excited. But certain people, their Yitzchok, right, the godly animal soul they have within them, they see something that's exciting, whether it's kosher, not kosher, good for them, not good for them, their heart is racing at 100 miles per hour and there's nothing you can do to stop them. Now, take these 2 people and put them in front of something inappropriate. One person doesn't care, literally has 0 interest. And the other one, not only 0 interest, 110% interest. So could you judge and say this person is a tzaddik and this person is not a tzaddik? No, what are you, 2 different people. Again, let's make it clear. No one is saying that when someone does something wrong, it's the right thing to do. When you do something right, it's great, and you do something wrong, it's the wrong thing. No one is saying that a wrong thing is right at any moment. Because even if you're, for example, exposed, your environment is not great, and even if you have this heart which goes ballistic, you still have to learn to control yourself. And you still have to follow the Torah, you have to do the right things and not do the wrong things. No one's justifying, to make it clear, no one's justifying wrong behavior. But we're talking about judging your friend. When it comes to judging your friend, don't judge him. Because if you had his heart, and if you were put in that same place, we're not going to talk about what you're going to do. Guess what you're going to do? You know what you're going to do? Exactly like him. Exactly like him. Because you're going to be in that environment with his heart. Why don't you do the same thing as him? The difference is, you're in a different environment and a different heart. So therefore the author says, whoa, you're starting to judge other people? Hello? Everyone is different. And guess what? Again, if you were in that place with his heart, you do the same thing. So therefore, automatically, the author says, don't judge other people. And the logic is very simple. Because if you were in his shoes, meaning say is in the places he had to hang around in, let's say his business was he had to go to, who knows, bars and whatever, and to do some electrical work there, and he's exposed to things where he shouldn't be exposed to, and obviously his heart gets excited about certain things, it's not going to work for him. Hi, welcome, come, grab a seat, pull up. Okay, it's not going to work for him. So therefore don't judge him. That is point number 1 that the author says. But that really doesn't, that takes us to the point where we shouldn't judge another person. But then the author says, hold on a second. But what did the author say before? Not only shouldn't you judge means I'm doing great, I don't transgress, thank God, I do all as many as the positive mitzvahs as I can, and you know what, before I was judging you, I'm going to stop judging you. Because you know what? Maybe I shouldn't really, judge you that way, because the fact is, look, unfortunately you're in certain environments, your heart goes crazy, so I'm not going to judge you. But that doesn't bring me to be humbled in front of you. I mean, this is not something to be like, oh my gosh, great, thank God I don't have those, so I'm not judging. But why am I, as the author said, being humbled in front of you, where I look at you, oh my, this guy's like a saint. And the author says as follows, and here he goes a step further. He says like this. What happens is, take for example, this person, who we said before, is exposed to certain environments, and his heart rips in on him, and what happens is, he does things that the Torah says don't do. Whether it could be, God forbid, stealing, it could be immoral relationships. And again, there's 365 negative commandments, so we can list all of them. But the point is, he transgresses one or many or multiple of the negative precepts. So you're saying, hold on a second, what's the problem with this guy? Can't control himself. And it's true, he really can't control himself. But the way you look down at him, look, he can't control himself. He doesn't listen to God. And even though I'm not judging him, but the fact is, right, so the author says, let me ask you a question like this. why are you looking down on this person? Because you're saying that this person is not controlling himself. The author says, let me ask you a question. Are you controlling yourself? And the author explains. It says like this. Let's even say it's true that you look at your scorecard and you're controlling yourself. Every one of the 365 negative commandments you don't transgress. All the relationships are in accordance with the Torah, kashrus you don't transgress, all the negative stuff, whatever it may be, go again, all 365. But we also know that we have 248 positive commandments. Now the 248 positive commandments, let's take for example 3 categories. One is Torah. It's a mitzvah to study Torah. Now when is the mitzvah to study Torah? Every mitzvah we know has a shiur, has a requirement.
Constant.
Oh, so when is the requirement to study Torah? And the answer is constant. What does it mean constant? 24/7. That means a person has an obligation to always study Torah, unless you have a valid exemption.
What about sleep? I mean,
So fine, that's a valid exemption. That's a valid exemption. There's a valid exemption to sleep, or to work, or whatever other valid exemptions you have. To work, take care of your spouse, your children, community, whatever it may be, but you have to have a valid exemption. Other than that, is there an excuse to sit and watch TV? Or sit and text half the day? Or email? Or WhatsApp? No, unless you're doing it for Torah and mitzvah, where's the excuse? I didn't see any exemption for that anywhere, right? So in other words, but why? So why are you doing that? It's very simple. You know why you're sitting on TV or your phone, iPhone, or whatever phone you use, and you WhatsApp and you email and you text? Why are you doing that? Because it's easier. And it's harder to break away and put away the phone, right? To put away the what's it called? Where you flick the channels, the remote control, right? It's harder to do that. So you rather sit. But what should you really do? Take the phone as hard as it is and put it away. Not only physically, but also take it out of your mind. That's even harder, by the way. And take the remote and put it away, and sit down and study Torah. And if the phone rings, guess what? You don't have to answer it because you're talking to God right now. When you're studying Torah, you're talking to God. Can you imagine you're talking to God? God, hold on a second. Let me check this text. Right? And before you know it, you're wasting 20 minutes on a silly text when you just put God on hold. So is it easy to constantly study Torah? No, it's a war. It's a war. It's a constant war because we know the distractions and the attention getting is huge from all different sides, right? So the reality is, or some telemarketer all of a sudden called you and you have a conversation for 15 minutes with a telemarketer, right? Whatever it may be. The point is, it's a war to stay committed to study and to study more, etc. Now, could you ever run out of material to study Torah? No. So you technically could. What's lacking? The lacking is your want, your desire, and you're willing to battle the evil inclination. So let's use one example, studying Torah. Praying. We have an obligation to pray 3 times a day, Shachrit, Mincha, Ma'ariv. After we eat, before we eat, after we go to, there's different blessings we say throughout the day and so on and so forth. Let's go to the category of prayer. Now, when you pray, so there's 2 parts to prayer. One is reading the words of prayer, but more importantly, and this is actually more important specifically when it comes to prayer, you have to have kavanah. What does prayer mean? You're reaching out to God. God, please, help me, or I want to thank you, or I'm grateful, etc. If you don't put your heart into it, there's legal questions whether the prayer is fit. And matter of fact, certain parts of the prayer service, Shema, if you don't have the proper kavanah, you got to say it over again. And sometimes you got to say. Sometimes people tell me they say it over 20 times until they have the proper kavanah. The point is, you need to really meditate on what you're saying. Now, is it easy to concentrate while you're praying? According to the Talmud, it's one of the transgressions that everyone transgresses every day. Because it's very hard to stay focused.
a lot of distractions.
Mental, emotional, whatever it may be. There's a lot of distractions. So to stay focused while you're praying, is it easy? No, it's very, very hard. We'll put the second category. Take, for example, positive commandments. Let's pick a mitzvah. Take a mitzvah, for example, of charity. Right? Tzedakah, charity. Now, people give tithing. People, you can give money. You can give your time. You can give many things. You can give to charity. You can be there for somebody else. You can physically be there, go out and help an older person, a friend, someone that's sick, go to the hospital, etc. Now, is there a limit to how much you can give charity? Now there's limits to financial charity, agreed. But helping somebody, listening to someone, being there for someone, is there a limit how much charity you can do? So the fact is, we could, whatever it is, whatever we're doing in terms of charity, could we do more? For sure we can do more. The only reason we're not doing more, guess what? Because we're doing something else not that important. So you see that in areas, or for example, the grace after meals, I think we can go through all the 248 positive commandments. I guarantee you we can put more effort and do more of it, both quantitatively and qualitatively. So the author says, let me ask you a question, why aren't you doing more of Torah, prayer, or charity, or any of the other mitzvot? Why not? And the answer is very simple. You know what the answer is? You're not willing to fight with your evil inclination. You're not willing to fight with your animal soul. So now the author says, let me ask you a question like this. You look at this person, whoever it may be, and you say, look at that person. They this sin. I saw them desecrating this. Okay, so on the other person, you're judging, which we know already is no good, but you're judging them that they're not doing something, they're transgressing in the negative. So in other words, what really bothers you is that person's not, let's get to the essence of it. What bothers you is that person is not fighting their evil inclination. That's what bothers you. Really. How come it doesn't bother you that you're not fighting your evil inclination? True, I grant you. You're not doing any of the, you're not transgressing the negative stuff. But the positive stuff you're not doing in a fight way. What bothers you is that other person's not fighting their evil inclination. Really. So how come you don't say to yourself, excuse me, how come I'm not fighting my evil inclination? You know you can pray more and study more and do more mitzvot. So the Alter says, guess what? So basically, it's now, the Alter is saying now you're on even keel. Before he was saying is, don't judge them. Okay, we're not even keel, but don't judge them, right? Now he's saying, the reality is look at your life and their life, the people that you're judging. You have the same problem that they do. You have the same animal souls they do. The difference is they fall prey in the negative precepts, and you fall prey in not advancing in the positive precepts. But the essence, you're both falling prey. So now there is putting you both on equal plane. On equal plane. But now the Torah says, and he divided it between negative and positive. Now the Torah goes a step further and he says, because we're trying to humble you, right? Because once you're humbled, you're about to get along with everybody. You don't have to look at their sinning. Hello, you're sinning too. What's the expression? People in glass houses don't throw stones, right? We're all in glass houses. Now let's take it a step further. Let's look at some of the negative precepts. So, for example, he gives an example, which is also one of the ones that people have a hard time with, and that is Lashon Hara. Lashon Hara. Now, what does Lashon Hara mean? So when you hear the word Lashon Hara, we hear that Lashon means tongue, Hara the bad. So right away people assume, and not correct, but it's assume that Lashon Hara means you're saying bad things about other people. Right? Bad things about other people. Now the reality is, if you learn the laws of Lashon Hara, the Alter says that the laws of Lashon Hara is so fine and refined that what happens if you are talking about somebody a nice thing. So for example, Chaim and Sarah meet, and Chaim and Sarah start talking about Abraham and Moshe, or Abraham and Rivka. And they start nice things. You know what? Chaim says, you know what, last night, Abraham and Rivka invited me to their house for dinner. Nice talk. Guess what? Is that Lashon Hara? Yes, it is. You know why? You're saying, oh my gosh, what can I talk about, right? You talk about Torah. So why is it Lashon Hara? Very simple.
Not there.
Huh?
They're not there.
Because they're not there. And what's the problem they're not there? The other person says, oh, they invited you for dinner last night. How come they didn't invite me? You were an innocent thing. You were giving someone a nice compliment. Went over, it was a nice dinner. Oh my gosh, you should see.
We do have Lashon Hara in the Torah. We have a lot of instances.
Agreed. We have to analyze those stories. But let's stay focused in this case. In reference to us. It's always easy to start talking about someone else's Lashon Hara, right? Let's talk about our Lashon Hara. So the point is, the Alter says that what happens is all of a sudden you're talking what? You're talking a nice thought. But guess what? That's Lashon Hara. Now, you start talking and you're going, oh my gosh, I really shouldn't say, do you stop yourself? We're human. So let's say we start talking. No, you don't. You finish the story. It's a nice story. Let me just tell you the story, right? And you talk Lashon Hara with all the holy motives, but the final line, it's still Lashon Hara. Or, for example, Someone says something not nice about somebody. Do you walk away from the conversation? Or do you stand there and actually even engage? That's Lashon Hara. And the author says, even if the story is true, so even if someone tells you something not nice about somebody else, it's still Lashon Hara. Not only that, Lashon Hara is so deep that even if somebody says something, that by them saying that, you're going to look bad, and you're only trying to clear yourself. I'm not like, there's also still Lashon Hara. It's a very, very fine area of law, Jewish law, but it happens to be a very, very important area of Jewish law because it keeps you clean and it keeps the world clean. It's Lashon Hara. And the author gives an example. There's a story in the Talmud with a rabbi that had to write a legal document, and some amateur guy wrote it, and I wouldn't say amateur 100%, but it was written not 100% perfectly. So his father turns to his son, and he thought his son wrote it. So he says to him, such a document? So he says to him, I didn't write it. And he says, this guy wrote it. Now, seemingly, was he talking bad about that guy? No, he said, you wrote it. He said, no, that guy wrote it. So, and he wasn't trying to insult the guy. And it was the truth. The truth was he didn't write it. You know what his dad told him? Stop talking Lashon Hara. Stop talking Lashon Hara. So you see that Lashon Hara is something which I can guarantee you, anybody and everybody, somewhere, somehow, is constantly, not intentionally, but we just get engaged in Lashon Hara. Why don't we stop? Because guess what? Because we have an ego. We have an evil inclination. We have Yitzchok, Hara. We have an animal soul. So the opposite, are you fighting your animal soul? Here you're looking down at the other person. Oh my gosh, you saw what this person did? Really? So before the author gave you examples of positive precepts. Now he's saying even in negative precepts. So far he's keeping you on even keel. But now the author is saying, not only are you on even keel, but even, not only that, but the truth is you're really on a lower level. Why? Very simple. Because you're somebody that studies Torah, that prays, that does mitzvot, had an upbringing, had a background. You know what it means to transgress, etc. So when you transgress, that's a big problem. The other person that you're saying did this, guess what? They probably don't even know the law. Again, let's make it clear. We're not justifying what they're doing. No, when someone does something wrong, it's something wrong. But we're talking to your attitude. You're looking, oh my gosh, you heard what this person did? How can you respect that person? Maybe they just don't know. And they probably don't know. But you should know. You should know better. And you're not pushing yourself to pray more, or to study more, or to give more charity, or to be more helpful, or to stop talking Lashon Hara. What's the problem? And the answer is very simple. You know why you're not pushing yourself? Because you're not fighting Yitzchok Hara. So in other words, the Alter Rebbe says based on this, actually before I tell you, so matter of fact, there's an interesting story I heard. There was in Russia, there was a time when there was big struggle when they started to introduce people, they had to work on Shabbat. And it was a big issue with the law of the store to be open on Shabbat and so on and so forth. So there was a true story. So there was this community which is like, you want to call it like a ghetto type, where no one desecrated the Shabbat. Everybody observed the Shabbat. Everyone did. And there was one guy, they kept on putting pressure on him if he doesn't, he doesn't open his store on Shabbat. And those days your life was on the line. And this tailor opened up his business on Shabbat. Simple tailor. And it was the first one, so people were very, very upset. The first guy in the community opens up a business on Shabbat. His business was open during the week, but he opened up also on Shabbat, and people were not happy about it. So this rabbi says that one day he was walking from his house to yeshiva and to the study hall, and it happens to be that he had to pass. That's the only way to get there, was passing the street where the tailor had a shop. And he passes by the shop, and he sees the tailor open on Shabbat, and it bothered him. The first time you see someone desecrating Shabbat in your own community, it really bothered him. So when he came to the yeshiva, he was talking to the boys, and he was saying that it bothered him, but he explained to the boys, you know why it bothered me? Not because he was open on Shabbat. It bothered me that he was open on Shabbat, and it didn't bother me, because not always I observe the Shabbat fully. And people look at me, you don't observe the Shabbat fully. He says, come on. I don't transgress anything, as we said before, but Do I take every minute on Shabbat and use it out the way you're supposed to think about God, to constantly be, because Shabbat is a day that you're supposed to be one with God. Do I think every moment of Shabbat, am I constantly, let's say, praying or sharing words of Torah, or really living Shabbat the way a Jew should live Shabbat? That's what bothers me. What bothers me is that it bothers me about him, and I'm not focusing on myself. Am I really serving God appropriately? So you see here, the author paints to you a beautiful picture that when a person really thinks about the fact that every single person in this world is on a higher footing than me. Why? Because very simple. First of all, my environment is better than their environment. They have some environments they have to be with that aren't the greatest. Their soul, you know what I mean, is a pretty hot one that gets excited about stuff. They can't control themselves. Not only that, they, maybe, struggle with keeping some of the negative precepts, but am I really fulfilling my mission and doing the positive precepts the way I'm supposed to? But not only that, the truth is, the person that I am, with the background that I have, I should be even more careful. So since I should be even more careful, and you're right, the Yetzer Hara, I'm going to agree with the Yetzer Hara, I'm this great guy. You're right, and if I'm this great guy, guess what? I should be doing much more. And I'm not doing my potential. I'm not doing my potential. So since I'm not doing my potential, guess what? How should I look at everyone else? They're obviously...
They're not less than you.
They're not less than you, that's for sure. But not only not less than you, every single person in this world is actually what? On a higher level for me. And therefore I can look up to every single person. And since I can look up to every single person, what happens now? Now I'm inspired. I'm living an inspired life because I have millions and billions of people to look up to. I have so many people to look up to. And what happens when you have people to look up to? Now you're inspired. Now you're happy. So if you want to break open your heart, you want to really start being happy, look at all these people that you can create now mentors in your life. And look, you can inspire yourself, and that will get you going. Because the worst thing is not being inspired and not having something to look up to. And here, guess wherever you are, you have someone to look at and to be inspired to them. You can find something in them. You can find something in every single person that they're really breaking themselves to reach the level they're at. And you have to ask, am I really breaking myself like these people are? I just want to finish off with a very powerful story. There was once a Jew came to the Rebbe. We know the Rebbe used to give $1 on Sunday. And this Jew was struggling because he was engaged to a woman that, according to Jewish law, he should not be engaged to, and he shouldn't be married to this woman. And there was a big struggle for him because he was torn. On one hand, he loved her, and the other hand, he knew it was the wrong thing to do. And he came to the Rebbe for advice, what to do. And he comes to the Rebbe, he waits online, suddenly for dollars. And he comes to the Rebbe and he tells the Rebbe his dilemma, and the Rebbe responds to him as follows. The Rebbe tells him, I wish I had your struggle. And the Rebbe explained to him as follows. Think about it, the Rebbe was looking up to him, I wish I was you. What is the Rebbe saying? I wish I was you in this struggle. Why? Because when a person has a struggle in Hebrew is called nisayon. Nisayon means a test. Nisayon comes from the word of nisi, to elevate, like a ladder. You go up the steps. Every time you have a struggle and you have a test, it's like a ladder. You can climb the ladder. So right now, your struggle gives you the opportunity to climb the ladder. I don't have that struggle. So therefore, I don't have the opportunity to climb the ladder. When he heard that, he walked away from the Rebbe, he sat down, he cried, and he said, it's over. That relationship is over. It means that the Rebbe empowered him that he should be able to jump out of the struggle, use it as a stepping stone. But look, on a deeper level, what was the Rebbe telling him? I envy you, because you are my hero. You are my mentor, you are my inspiration, because I don't have that struggle. I can climb. You could climb. And I think if we took that approach, if we viewed every single person in this world, that every single person is basically struggling, but they're overcoming their struggles on whatever their level is. You would be inspired by, not only from this great person, from every single person you'd be inspired, because sit down with any person in the world, have a heart-to-heart conversation, ask them about their struggles in life, and you'll be surprised. From the smallest to the biggest, everybody has their struggles, and everyone has a way to overcome the struggles, and every single person's story is an inspiration. Now, once every single person's story is inspiration, guess what? You have so many people you can be inspired from. And that's why this chapter is such an important chapter, because this chapter will literally change your outlook on anyone and everybody in the world in a beautiful way, that people will be your inspiration, not, God forbid, be there for you to close you down by thinking that you're better than anybody and you can't learn from them. We can learn and be inspired from every single person in this world if we take this chapter, Perek Lamed, seriously, to be humbled in everybody, because everybody is really a hero in their world, and if we learn from everybody, we'll be humbled and our hearts will be opened and we'll have true simcha and joy in our life.